This is of video 846, 3 trains on 1 track. In the earlier video 845, we ran 3 trains on 1 track using what we call the mainline method, where 1 train was always running on the main line. In this video 846, we're using what we call the yard method, where all 3 trains stop and park in the yard every time a train goes around the layout. Here's our layout as presently configured. We've got down here a station which we're calling the whistle stop station, and our train controller, which is this device here, will pull this first train out and run it for about 10 seconds down to the whistle stop station and stop it. After that, while that train is stopped, it'll pull the second train in the yard and the third train in the yard. It'll pull those trains forward to make room in the rear of the yard. Then it'll start up the train that was stopped at the whistle stop station, run it the rest of the way around the loop, bring it into the end of the yard. There's a detector back there. Bring it into the end of the yard and park it. Back there we've got a Z-Stuff DZ1012 infrared detector. You can probably see the green light back there. That's how we're detecting our trains, and we're calling the yard, the area from where that detector is, up forward to this crossing where we park the 3 trains. And as with previous videos, we have what we call our public push button. It has instructions that says the public can push that button when the status light is green, and when the trains start up, the controller will change that status light to red, which tells the public that the system is busy and it doesn't do any good to push the buttons. And then here we've got our NCE command, DCC command station. Here is something that's new for this video, what we're calling a station departure announcement decoder. This will make station departure announcements. We can have this operator not operate by using a switch on our control board. So what we're going to do now is push the public push button and start the trains up.
Ready when you are.
I just manually started up that red Loco. That's an older Proto 3, and it needs to be manually started to have the sound come on. The other 2 are newer, and when you start them up, the sound will come on automatically. Now we finished our station stop, and we're running that train on the main line around, and we'll bring it in the back of the yard. These are all 3 MTH Protosound-3 Locos, which can run on DCC as well as proprietary DCS. And we can run them on DCC like we're doing here to have our automatic controls. Now you can see that detector back there is changing to red.
Train leaving on track 5 for Anaheim, Azusa, and Coke. Come on down. Step right up.
We need to get the volume a little higher of our station departure unit. Now you can see the second train back there just made the whistle stop. The controller's now pulling these 2 trains in the yard forward. And we could pull those forward both at the same time like we've done in previous videos, but We think it's a little more interesting to watch if you pull them forward one at a time. Now the mainline train's running again, as you can see, heading for the yard. I think I mentioned we can also run 2 trains on this system, or we can run just 1 train on this system.
May I have your attention, ladies and gentlemen? Pennsylvania Railroad train number 412, the Three Rivers Express, is now boarding State College for Pittsburgh. This train stops at Tyrone, Altoona, Hollidaysburg. All aboard.
Notice we've got the controller programmed to blow the horn on that mainline train before it does the station stop, and then we have it programmed to blow the horn a second time after it starts up from the station stop. That orange-colored trestle that's in the layout back there, that's about where it blows the horn on the second when it starts up, and this orange trestle here is about where it blows the horn for the first time. Now we have the repeat switch open. The switch we're calling a repeat switch will cause the system to run continuously if it's on, but it's not on. Now you see the status light just went back to green, which means the system's now not busy, so that tells the public they can come along and push that button to start it up again. Now we're going to run this demo again. We'll just make a couple of changes. We're going to turn the announcements off. That's these 2 buttons here. We can control the announcements, have them on or not on. And we're going to turn off the whistle stop buttons. On is toward the camera, back that way is off. These are just Atlas slide switches. But as we change the control panel, now when we run them, we will not have the whistle stop and we will not have the announcements. Let's do that. Now you can see that train on the main line keeps running while the controller is pulling these trains forward in the yard. And in this situation, it'll blow that whistle about somewhere in the neighborhood of where that trestle is on the outside of the track. And these white-colored pieces of wood, you can maybe able to see them along the track. They define approximately where those trains are stopping. Now running the system this way requires a little longer track because that train that's out on the main line running is using up track, so to speak, while these trains are pulling up in the yard. There's the second whistle. We have to get the second whistle completed before we get to the detector, because the detector's busy blowing the whistle, and if that's not done when the train gets to the detector, I should say the controller's busy blowing the whistle, and that has to be done before the train gets to the detector. Now that's our third train that's running, so when that one's done, the controller will not keep running trains because we have our repeat switch not open. Notice that train stopped. The status. Now we'll see if we can show a detector test. We have a way we can show the detector is hooked up and actually communicating with the controller. If we push the start button, which I'm going to do now, you can hopefully see, well, one, the status light went from the green to red to show the system is busy. And we have the repeat switch closed, so it'll keep repeating, going around. The program is looping. There's no trains being started because all three of these train selection switches are open. But the LED is blinking at a rate of about a half a second. We have a line at the bottom of the program that tells it to blink this LED. It's basically sending a dummy accessory command to an accessory that doesn't exist, but every time a command is sent, it blinks the LED. So that's what you're seeing here. Now, if we block that detector, it'll slow down the blinking, and let's see if we can do that. I'm going to start that Loco back in the rear and try to back it up just enough that that detector goes to red. There you can see, hopefully, there's a passenger car back there blocking the detector, and it's now red, and you can see what happened. This thing is still blinking, but instead of blinking once every half second, it slowed its blink rate down to about once every second and a half. So that tells us that the detector is communicating with the controller, because we can block the detector and observe the blinking slow down. And if we unblock that if we unblock the detector, now there you can see it went back to green, so you can see this LED resumes blinking at a half of a second. So that's how we can confirm that our detector is communicating with our programmable train controller here. We just finished running 3 trains. What we're going to do now is walk over there, pull off the middle train, and then demonstrate running this system with just 2 trains on the track. Now, when we remove a train, the one thing we've got to do is open the switch for running that train. The switches for controlling the trains are these 3 here, and they're normally all 3 on. All those switches do is they ground an input of the controller when we turn them on. If we open them, it's not grounded. That's how we communicate with that controller. But we're going to open this center switch, which is the one for the middle Loco. So we'll be running just the first Loco and the third Loco, and we'll push the start button now.
Dispatch, we're in the clear.
I should have mentioned we don't have the announcements turned on, and we don't have the station stop turned on. We're just making a simple run around the layout with this demonstration. Now watch the status light here. That'll go back to green to indicate the system's not busy. And you can see where those two trains parked. Essentially, our yard has shrunk now that we're running only two trains. Our yard has kind of shrunk from the beginning of this train here back to the block, but that's how we can run two trains on this system without doing anything other than removing the third train and opening the switch opening this proper switch on the control panel. Now we just finished running two trains. We're going to go over and pull another train off the track, so we'll be down to just one train. Now we pulled that train, we pulled the other train off the track, so we just have one train on the track. So we've got to do the same thing we did before over there on the control panel, open the switch for the train we're not running, which is that one. So we just have one train selected, which is the one on the track, and we're going to turn on the announcements for that train, and we're going to turn on the whistle stop for that train. So this is a way you could run a layout even with just one train. Now there's our whistle stop. Notice it stopped a little sooner short of the whistle stop station because it started from further back on the layout. Now it's going to sit there for about 20 seconds because it was sending the commands to move those other two trains in the yard forward even though they weren't on the track. Now you can see that train came in and parked at the rear of the yard, and with just one train on the track, that's where that locomotive is going to start from every time. Now consider what we've got with one train on the track, like for if you're running a display that was semi-attended, you would have a locomotive sitting there with sound, headlights, flashing rooftop strobe light. So you got 3 points of action: the sound, the headlight, the strobe light. You got three types of action happening even when the locomotive is stationary, but it's not wearing itself out running around the loop when nobody's watching it. That when somebody comes and wants to see it run, they push the push button So even with one train, when somebody pushes the public push button, you get the lights and the sound, plus you get the announcement, plus the station stops, and all the action. So this is still a pretty handy system to have, even for just running a single train.